They thought she was just another face in the crowd, just another tired recruit trying to survive another day of military life. But what they didn't know was that the woman they mocked, shoved, and left in the dirt would soon be standing before them as their commanding officer. And before the sun set that day, those same soldiers who laughed at her would be standing at attention, trembling under her gaze. Before we continue, welcome to Voices Unchained. If you believe respect must be earned, not demanded, then hit that like button, subscribe, and tell us where you're watching from. We love to see how far these stories travel. It was a calm afternoon at Fort Garrison, the air alive with shouts of cadence, the metallic rhythm of rifle drills, and the smell of dust and sweat baking under the sun. Among the noise and chatter, a lone figure entered through the main gate. She walked slowly, carefully, as if each step carried a memory heavier than her duffel bag. Her name was Samantha Reynolds. No insignia, no visible rank, just a standard issue uniform slightly worn at the sleeves. Her boots were scuffed, her shoulders straight, her eyes distant, the look of someone who'd seen too much and said too little. A few soldiers glanced up. Some smiled politely. Others stared, curious. "Probably another transfer," one whispered. "Looks green to me," another replied. What they didn't know was that this woman was a decorated veteran, a survivor of 3 major deployments, a leader who had once commanded an elite unit overseas and had lost half of them on her last mission. That kind of loss changes a person. But it didn't break her, it forged her. She'd faced not only enemy fire, but the quiet battles of discrimination, the doubting eyes that measure ability by her skin and gender. Through it all, she'd climbed her way to the top, not with privilege, but with persistence. She valued respect, the kind earned through action, not titles. And she was about to remind Fort Garrison what that word really meant. By the barracks, 5 soldiers lingered, half dressed for drills, half bored from routine. James Carter, the unofficial ringleader, loud, proud, and arrogant. Brad Lewis, his muscle, always laughing too hard at the wrong things. Then Tim, Cole, and Ryan, their silent audience, eager to follow whoever looked strongest. When they spotted Samantha approaching, dragging her bag across the gravel, James smirked. "Well, well," he muttered. "Look what we got here, a new face." Tim chuckled. "She looks lost, probably fresh out of training." Brad grinned, stepping forward. "Nah, man, she's too serious. Maybe she's one of those overachievers. Thinks she's gonna change the world." "Or maybe," James said, leaning back, "she's just another new black recruit who doesn't know her place yet." Laughter rippled through the group. As Samantha neared, James blocked her path. "You lost, rookie?" he asked, fake concern dripping from his tone. She adjusted her grip on the duffel. "No, soldier, I know exactly where I'm going." Brad stepped in front of her. "He's talking to you." Her eyes didn't even flicker. "Then he can step aside." Tim raised his eyebrows. "Ooh, she's got fire." James grinned. "We'll see how long that lasts around here." Then he snatched the duffel from her hands. "Or what?" he taunted. "What are you going to do, rookie? Report us?" Brad shoved her from behind, hard. She stumbled to her knees, the dust rising like smoke. The others laughed. Someone muttered, "This is about to get messy." But Samantha didn't move right away. She stayed on her knees, breathing slowly. And when she finally looked up, her eyes were cold, too calm, too steady. That silence, that calmness, it made James uneasy. He crouched down. "We own these barracks, so you better." He never finished that sentence. In one lightning-fast motion, Samantha grabbed James's wrist, twisted, and pulled him forward, his body flipping over her shoulder before slamming into the ground. The laughter stopped instantly. James groaned, gasping. Before he could get up, she swept his leg and pinned him. Her movements were clean, professional, every strike calculated, like someone who had trained to survive. Brad lunged. She sidestepped, spun, and kicked him square in the gut. He crashed into the railing. The 3 remaining soldiers froze. Samantha stood tall, breathing steady. She glanced at them with quiet disappointment. "This black girl," she said, voice calm but cutting, "will catch you all later." Then she picked up her duffel and walked off, leaving 5 stunned soldiers staring at each other in disbelief. The yard was silent, and that silence spread faster than fire. By late afternoon, the rumors had evolved. "Did you hear what happened? She took down James in 10 seconds flat." "No way. He's going to get her back." "You think command's going to care? She's just a recruit." But then the intercom crackled to life. "Attention all personnel. Formation in 15 minutes. The new base admiral has arrived." The soldiers scrambled, boots pounded, uniforms straightened. James adjusted his cap, trying to hide the swelling around his eye. He muttered, "Man, if she sees me like this," Brad hissed, "just keep your head down." The entire yard fell silent as the deputy commander stepped forward. "Ladies and gentlemen, it is my honor to introduce our new commanding officer, Admiral Samantha Reynolds." Every breath froze. Through the hangar doors walked the same woman they'd mocked, the same one they'd shoved into the dirt. Only now, her uniform bore shining rank insignia. Her cap glinted in the sunlight, and her stride radiated power. James's jaw slackened. Brad swallowed hard. Tim whispered, "You've got to be kidding me." She stopped before the formation, hands clasped behind her back. Her presence filled the yard like a storm rolling in. "Earlier today," she began, her voice carrying across the field, "a few soldiers had the opportunity to welcome what they thought was a new recruit." Her eyes swept across the rows of faces until they landed on James. "Instead," she said, "they chose arrogance. They chose disrespect." Murmurs rippled through the crowd. "I've seen arrogance destroy more units than war ever could," she continued. "I've seen good men break because they thought leadership meant power, not service." She took a slow step forward, and I've seen humility rebuild what pride tried to ruin. James's face burned. Brad's hands shook at his sides. "So here's the truth," she said, voice rising. "I don't care what color you are. I don't care where you came from. The only thing that matters here is how you carry the uniform you wear. Teamwork, dedication, and respect, that's it. That's what makes a group work." She paused, letting the silence linger. "If you can't handle that, you'll be gone before sunrise." The deputy commander called, "Dismissed," but no one moved until she turned and left. Over the next weeks, Fort Garrison changed. Orders were sharper, drills were cleaner, the old whispers of bias and ego faded into silence, and James, the loudest of them all, was the first to change. He showed up early, trained harder. When a recruit dropped her rifle, he picked it up before she could bend down. One evening, he and his crew approached the admiral outside the command office. She looked up from her clipboard, expression unreadable. "Admiral," James said quietly, "we wanted to apologize for—" She raised a hand. "Don't. I don't need your words. All I need is your hard work. Respect isn't spoken, it's shown." He nodded. "Yes, ma'am." They left with their heads held lower, but their hearts heavier, the weight of humility beginning to settle in, and slowly, something beautiful began to take root. The arrogance disappeared. Teamwork returned, and for the first time in years, Fort Garrison felt united. Late one evening, as the sun bled orange across the horizon, a young black female recruit approached Samantha quietly. "Ma'am," she said, voice small, "I saw what happened that day, the way you handled them. It inspired me." Samantha smiled faintly, holding her coffee mug. "Good," she said, "because someday it'll be your turn to stand your ground. And when that day comes, I hope you stand tall." The recruit saluted. "Yes, ma'am." As she walked away, Samantha looked out over the base, the same ground where she'd once knelt in the dirt. Now, every soldier there stood taller, because leadership isn't about rank, it's about respect. If this story moved you, share it. Someone out there might need to remember that true power doesn't come from position, but from how you treat people when no one's watching. You're watching Voices Unchained, where real strength speaks louder than hate. Like this video, subscribe, and drop your location in the comments, because stories like this travel far, and somewhere out there, someone needs to be reminded, respect isn't given, it's earned.